What about, like you said, these people on 20, 25 medications, and like when I was in medical school, and I think to some degree in my residency, we would go to visit some nursing homes from time to time, and they were these big giant industrial places, and there's 200 residents, and it was really depressing. I mean, it really was. It was just kind of, they were just, like you said, just plonked in a chair in front of a TV, and half of them are asleep or whatever, medicated, overly medicated. How do you get these people off meds? I mean, what is the plan? Because most of I don't know. I mean, physicians don't like hanging out at nursing homes. I don't think. I mean, and
Right.
They probably don't want to be involved in taking people off medications. I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
How do you
No,
see that
absolutely.
playing out?
Yeah. In fact, like the one on the Bredesen protocol, one part of the Bredesen protocol is hormones. They check what your hormone levels are. And our lady who's on it has very low amounts of a hormone called pregnenolone.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to get her boosted up. And the doctor's like, I'm sorry, that's just not the standard of care. So we can't. So the trick is to find, but this doctor that we have is very open to reducing medications. One thing that was interesting is she's on a Alzheimer's medication called Momentine. And we reduced that gradually, and her memory actually improved, which is kind of scary. But the trick is to find a doctor who's willing to do it. They have all kinds of insurance requirements with doctors. They have these standards of care of the way to take care of people, and they have to follow those to make their insurance valid and malpractice and stuff. So you have to find a doctor who's willing to, hey, I've done the research. This isn't going to hurt them. Let's try it. It was interesting, even though the doctor and I had an argument about the hormones, she later went to my manager and said, when I'm old, I want to come to this home so you take care of me because you guys fight for people.
Good for you.
So it's the trick is to finding those doctors that are willing to do that, because we can't give someone Tylenol without a doctor's prescription by state regulations.
Yeah. I know how much of a challenge
but no one gives a rat's butt of what I feed them. I could feed them M&Ms 3 meals a day, every day. And as long as I post it as a menu, I'm compliant with state regulations.
But I mean, as far as state regulations go, I know with federal regulations, there's we have the USDA food, not pyramid now, it's whatever plate or whatever they're calling it these days. Are you beholden to that? And if so, I mean, how do you say, hey, look, this is a special diet for this situation? How do you get around that?
The Department of Health in Arizona, and I don't know how it is in other states, but they're very big into, if they don't have regulations, they turn to our policies and procedures. Every assisted living home has to have a policy and procedure manual. And in that, you put how your philosophy on dieting. And we work in conjunction with doctors on people's diets. We just leave it at that. We don't have the food pyramid or anything like that. A lot of other places have the food pyramid, and that's what they say they're doing. So when they come to inspect us, they say, okay, what did the doctor say? And we have the doctors that I've worked with say, okay, what do you want to do? And we tell them and we show them some research, and they're like, okay. Most doctors really, they want basics, like they want them to have some fruits and veggies and cut down on sugar, the standard kind of stuff. But I say, we want to do this. I've got a nutritionist that says it's okay. They're like, okay, but let's monitor them. If there are any problems, we'll change that. And then I just get a note from the doctor. I show it to the Department of Health, and they're cool with it.
Yeah, that's, I'm just thinking, like I said, as things go forward for you, I mean, if you're wanting to continue, on a more carnivorous approach, as our company Revero start seeing patients here, and probably this spring, I would imagine, by the time that's what I'm projecting. A lot of it's virtual, so that may be something you can use as a resource to sort of.
I would love it.
Help that.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd love to keep talking about it.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, we're going to be looking for patients, and so that would be a win-win, I think, for both. And I think it's something that.
I got 40 of them for you.
Yeah, there you go. And we've got, like I said, we'll get some physicians in Arizona as well, licensed in Arizona. So what,
I noticed just one thing that's really a pet peeve of me. Someone brought up in the chat that just popped up. Ensure. That is, it drives me nuts how much that is pushed in the senior healthcare industry. Mm-hmm. And let everyone know out here, that's like pure sugar milkshake. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, he's wasting away. Let's get him some insurance. It's got a lot of protein. I'm like, it's just going to make him waste away faster.
Yeah, that's complete garbage. You just turn the ingredients over and you just shake your head, and they would even consider drinking that. Not only poisoning their grandma with it or whatever. You've got the one patient who you shared on Twitter, by the way, and I retweeted that with the gal that lost 135 pounds, which is amazing. To think about 135 pounds in about 2.5 months is a pretty significant. I mean, that's kind of amazing to see how much. I mean, is she surprised? I mean, what was
she is. Yeah. Over the moon, thrilled. We were surprised. I was hoping for like maybe 50 pounds in 2 months or so. The guy I'm working with is a guy named Daniel Magyar. He's 295 pounds himself, but it's like 8% body fat kind of thing. He said at first, because she's so heavy, that she was going to lose a lot of water weight. Mm-hmm. And my caregivers were calling me probably every day for the first 3 weeks she was there, like, oh my God, this girl pees a lot. Mm-hmm. And as we got her on that diet, it was like the water just flushed right out of her. And we saw a huge 60, 70 pounds right away kind of thing. And it's slowing down, but in the last 2 weeks, she lost 30 pounds. So I don't know all the metabolic processes of it, but I think when they're that heavy, the weight loss comes a lot faster. And he even said, now we shoot for 5 or 10 pound losses each week.
Yeah. That's still significant. That's still a lot. 5 pounds a week, 10 pounds a week is pretty huge.
Oh, yeah. You do the math. That's, 52 weeks in a year at 5 pounds a week. You're at 250 pounds in a year.
Yeah, no, that's, and I think that's achievable, for the first year. And then obviously you slow down at some point, but
we're really trying to get her to do as much independent stuff as she can.
Yeah, I'm just wondering because, let's say she loses another 100 pounds and gets down to 300 pounds, and then she's, probably could go home, but technically is there a way to keep her longer? So, I mean, is there like I guess it's just a matter if somebody's
that's up to her.
Yeah.
All our contracts are 30-day notice kind of things. I don't hold them longer than that. I'm like, if you don't want to be here, I don't want to keep you. And when you're ready to go out, you let me know. I bought her a laptop. She's taking some classes to work in the medical field. She's not sure what her role will be. We're going to try to get her a job and then hopefully move her out. I told her, well, you might come back as a consultant here.
Yeah, very possible. I mean, I can tell you a lot of the coaches that I have on our platform, many of them most of them were people themselves that went through all this stuff and figured it out, and they've become huge advocates. And it's really neat. Is she on a bunch of meds? I mean, I made 500 something pounds. Does she have any other comorbid conditions? Yeah. I can't imagine she didn't, but
she was probably on 17 or 18. We're trying to reduce those, but she was in a skilled nursing facility for, I think she said 7 years and 9 months before she came to us.
Wow. And they didn't do anything.
I think in those 7 years, she lost about 50 pounds.
Yeah.
She was up over 600.
Wow.
But no. And I talked to the director. I'm like, why don't we look at, because they've got a whole bunch of bariatric patients. I'm like, why don't you look at the diet? And he said, the food is totally dictated by our corporate office in Missouri or wherever it was. We just have to feed them that. And they have all these resident rights in that facility that most of the residents ordered DoorDash foods on top of the bad meals they get in the hospital. So he's like, I'm stuck. I can't do anything. That's why we like the idea of you going. I guess the Department of Health won't let them kick anyone out unless there's a financial reason. And the insurance companies are all paying for that. Medicaid is. So they're not going to get it kicked out.
So you're saying I'm paying for that.
So you're paying for that.
Yeah, I'm paying for all that
everyone
nonsense.
Everyone is paying for that.
Yeah.
But when they come to my house, my rules, according to the Department of Health, I can give them a 30-day notice for anything and kick them out. So I tell, all the future ones, I'm going to tell, you follow the program or you come back here. And most of them are like, I'll follow the program.